Hello, and welcome to Doodling Master Class. Now, I want to preface this with a very important message. I started this with a curriculum, but in the spirit of doodling, we're going to throw that out because doodling is about making mistakes and then finding a way to turn that mistake into art. Now, the biggest question I get from people when I am working is, how do you know where to start that? I could never start anything like this. I don't know how to draw. Well, it's simple. A lot of times, you just have to start with a shape. I like to start with circles. Now, sometimes people can't draw circles like that. If you can't draw a circle like that, use a stencil. Or don't. You can have whatever shaped circle you want. You can have it be more of a square or a triangle. Start with a shape that you like, and then build on it. Let's see. For circles, something fun to do is half circles, or little petal shapes. There's something special about circles, and that is, with a circle, you can create radial symmetry. Now, I don't think I did very well on that, but that's okay. So, now we have a slightly asymmetrical pattern going on. Let's just keep going with it. A lot of the time, when you're doodling, you'll make a mistake and think, oh no, this whole thing is ruined. What I'm here to tell you is that sometimes those mistakes can end up being something really cool. We'll just keep going with shapes we like. I like to make flowery things. This style of drawing is called Mandalas. Sometimes you see them written in books as like Zen doodles, something like that. I don't know. But you basically just go around the circle, repeating the same pattern over and over again. Some good shapes for circles are little half circles, little pointy, they're like it's brackets. But you just kind of spread them out a little bit. Another thing you can do is just add shapes inside of shapes. I like to put little dots inside my half circles. I like to draw even more half circles on half circles. Really, you can go anywhere with this. See, for a triangle, let's say we want to do something a little bit less organic. You can do more triangles. And even more triangles. A lot of the times, just repeating a shape is enough to create an interesting motif. Squares? That square's kind of wonky, but we'll go with it anyway. More squares. Look, it's a doodle. It's great. Now, another thing you can do, let's say starting with a shape is just a little too much. You have absolutely no idea where to start. What I like to do is close my eyes and then just draw a couple things. Now we have a basic framework. We can play off this. All doodling is filling both the space in your mind and the space on a page. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be even, symmetrical. It doesn't have to be nice looking. It can be whatever you want it to be. Sometimes you can even doodle with words. A good way to doodle with words is to turn on some music. find a song you like, and just go with it. Now, for the sake of not inciting the wrath of the copyright infringement gods, I will not be playing any music for you as part of the Doodling with Music segment of this workshop. However, I will show you my Doodling with Music page in my notebook. This is what I do when I listen to music and I draw. I follow the feelings. I do a lot of writing of lyrics and song titles and artist names, but mostly I have fun with it. There's a lot of clashing patterns and types of bold letters, cursive everywhere. Really, what I want you to be able to do is to have fun and not worry about running out of room. There's a lot of stuff crammed in this. But the most important part was I didn't sweat it. It might look kind of weird at first. That's all right. The whole point of this is to sort of let go of the natural boundaries that your brain tries to place on things. Our brains like order. When we make something like a doodle, we're kind of stepping outside of that box a little bit. It'll feel uncomfortable at first, but eventually you'll get the hang of things. That's why I like drawing with music so much, is because you can't stay stuck on one idea for very long. You know, the song changes, the tempo changes, everything about it changes. If you have a diverse playlist, I suggest you play that while you're working with music. Another thing that is important when you're drawing is knowing what type of instrument to use. Pencils are great because if you make a mistake and you really just can't live with it, it's easy to erase. Sometimes gel pens are cool. I like gel pens, I collect them. The only thing is if you're not careful, you might smudge it. So if you're working with gel pens, I suggest you take things slow, and if you start feeling like maybe you're getting some residue on your hands, go wash your hands, take a little break, eat an apple or something. I don't know. But step away for a few minutes and let your drawing cool. It'll dry up and then you can continue working. Now, pens like the Pilot G2, they have pretty fast drying ink. See, I go again and it's not working. But some of the fancier gel pens, like ones with glitter ink, stuff like that, they smear pretty bad. And especially if they have a high volume ink output, they kind of flood a little bit. Those ones are the ones that you want to be really careful with. I'm talking wait a good 10 minutes before switching colors, stuff like that, because it can really, really get messy if you accidentally dip into something that's still drying. Sometimes people use markers. Sharpies are okay to use. I don't use them very much simply because they have a tendency to bleed. See these large dots in the corners? That's where the ink spreads out. So if you're using a Sharpie, you're going to want to use a thicker paper. I use Strathmore Bristol paper a lot. I like the Series 300. It's very thick, heavyweight paper, and it works well with inks. Another thing you might want to consider when doing a doodle is, are you going to want to shade things? Shading with a pencil is easy. You can go from dark to light just by changing the amount of pressure. There are other ways to shade too. There's something called pointillism, which is where you just make a bunch of little tiny dots. I don't really have patience for it. But you can create a gradient like that. One thing I like to do is called hatching. make a lot of lines and then less lines. Let's say we have a sphere. We have the shadow. Obviously, that's not the right shape for a sphere's shadow, but I don't care. I am just doodling. We'll say the light source is coming from here, so we're gonna get darker over here. And then there's something called cross-hatching, which is just like hatching, but you add another direction to the lines. This is more for sketching. I enjoy sketching. And this is another thing you can do. Let's say you want to draw something that exists in real life. Keep it close. One of the best things you can do if you're starting out as an artist is to learn how to sight. That is, you have an object and you can see that object, and you just look between the object and your drawing periodically to make sure that your proportions are correct. It helps if it's really close. Now, sometimes you can't have the objects very close to you. Say it's an animal. It wants to sit far away. You can't quite keep it where you are. You kind of have to work quickly. But sketching, again, it doesn't have to be pretty. It's all about learning to embrace perspective, and provide your own version of the world around you. Another cool thing you can do, here, crumble up a piece of paper. Set that piece of paper down. See the shadow? Might not be able to see it very well from where you are, but you can trace the shadow of that paper. And that'll be similar to the blind drawing technique that I showed you, where you close your eyes, just let your hand move. You can provide an outline for yourself, and then you can fill in that shape. This is something that my favorite art teacher taught me. So now you have a basic shape. If we turn it upside down, it looks like a mountain. So then we can go and cap it with snow. Oh, or it could be a sandcastle. I don't know what I'm doing here, but that's okay. Oh look, we've created a new kind of space. Let's shade it. The best part about art is that it really doesn't have to be anything. It's another question I get asked a lot. What is that supposed to be? Well, a lot of the times I'm not even really thinking about what I'm drawing. I only ever do that when I have a really set idea, something I really truly want to work on. I draw for fun a lot of the time. I just draw whatever comes to mind. Drawing doesn't have to be stressful. A lot of the time we get caught up in perfectionism. Art is something that has to be monetized. If you can't sell it, you're not a good artist. I think that's a load of crap. Art is just about creating something. There are no rules about what's art and what's not. There shouldn't be. That makes it feel inaccessible to some of us. All the mistakes, they end up being something in the long run. Some of my favorite techniques are born out of mistakes. One of the things I would like to do is create lots and lots of circles in a row. But then there would be one like this, where it's not quite right. So what you do is you just shade around it. Make it more even. And there, you can fix all your circles and have a cool little tunnel for them as well. You can decorate the outside of the tunnel with whatever you want. Stencils are your best friend. Stencils are great for finding starting points and finding shapes that look cool together. I use stencils a lot. The stencils are really good if you really want a straight line or a nice circle, something to look even. Smooth. Stencils are going to be your best friend. Now I know that this workshop has kind of been all over the place. Part of that is because I threw out the curriculum. Part of that's because I didn't rehearse. But then again, that's kind of my whole stance on things. If you want to be a good artist, first you have to learn how to let go of some stuff. Perfection being one of them. I used to get so caught up in whether my art looked good. I would start something on a piece of paper like this. I'd get maybe this far, and then that would happen. An off-kilter half circle. I'd scrap the whole paper. Wasted a lot of trees, but now that I don't quite care anymore, I can roll with it. And that's what I want you guys to be able to do. Doodling is all about rolling with it. Probably said that a million times. That's alright. It's something that needs to be hammered into your head. Our whole lives, art has been seen as something immaculate and beautiful, and less of what it really is, which is just some ideas that happen to fall onto a piece of paper. Or maybe you're not even using paper. You could be a sculptor, could be a painter. In whatever you do, I want you to be authentic to yourself. Don't ever feel like you have to fit your work into some mold. Don't conform. Do what you want to do, and then people will flock to it. I could make a lot of money doing portraits, but I don't like doing portraits, so I doodle instead. Most of the time I don't even draw for money. I know I've mentioned that before. Don't base the value of your art on what other people say. It's all about how it makes you feel. If it makes you happy, you should do it. Unless it's something illegal, in which case don't. Hello, and thank you for watching my video. I just wanted to take a moment and show you some of the works I've completed in the past couple of years. This is a direct result of what doodling can do for you as an artist. All of these techniques were developed while doodling, and I want you guys to be able to find something that you really enjoy and roll with it. I know I've said that a billion times in this video, but I really do want to share art with everyone, especially now that we're all cooped up inside and we can't do much about that. Now is the best time for you to start learning a new skill, and I hope you take doodling up as one of your new hobbies. Thank you. I had a lovely time teaching you today, and doodle something awesome for me.